All right, let's jump right in. I want you to picture this. It's 49 BC, and you're standing on a frozen riverbank in northern Italy. A decision made right here, right then, didn't just change the course of history. It actually gave us this timeless metaphor for any high-stakes, point-of-no-return choice a leader has to make. This, of course, is the story of crossing the Rubicon.
Alea iacta est. The die is cast. With those three little words, Julius Caesar basically sealed his fate, and the fate of the entire Roman Republic. It's a declaration, right? It says the time for thinking is over. The commitment has been made. It's the sound of a door slamming shut behind you. And really, it's the heart of what we're talking about today. And this isn't just some dusty old history lesson. Nope. Every leader, every manager, shoot, anyone with real responsibility eventually finds themselves standing at the edge of their own river. That moment where a choice has to be made, and you just know nothing's ever going to be the same again. So as we go through this, keep that in the back of your mind. What's your Rubicon?
So let's get into the specifics of Caesar's dilemma. The year is 49 BC. Now, the Rubicon River, it wasn't just a river, it was the legal boundary of Italy, and Roman law was super clear about it. No general could cross it with a standing army. To do so was treason, plain and simple. So the Roman Senate, which was led by his big rival, Pompey, sends Caesar an ultimatum. Ditch your army and come back to Rome, alone.
Caesar himself didn't see this as some simple choice between two bad options. As he put it, he was between two abysses. For him, this wasn't about finding the lesser of two evils. It was about choosing which terrifying bottomless pit he was going to jump into. There was absolutely no safe path forward. Just look at the options here. On one side, if he obeys the Senate, it's total personal annihilation. We're talking public disgrace, a sham trial run by his enemies, and yeah, almost certain death. But on the other side, if he breaks the law and crosses that river, well, that means chaos for everyone. He'd be branded a traitor, and he would plunge the entire Roman world into a vicious civil war. So one path was his doom, the other was a catastrophe for the world. Okay, so you're faced with two abysses. How in the world do you decide which one to leap into? Well, Caesar didn't just flip a coin. He actually worked through this incredibly powerful mental framework, a series of 4 questions that, honestly, can guide any of us through our own Rubicon moments. So the very first question he asked himself was brutally honest. Is this really it? Is this situation truly irreversible? Is there any middle ground, any room to negotiate, any third door I'm just not seeing? He had to be 100% sure that the point of no return had actually arrived. And his conclusion? It was pretty stark. He realized that doing nothing wasn't a safe option. Inaction was just a slower, more humiliating way to be destroyed. Standing still was a guaranteed loss. So, you see, his choice wasn't really between war and peace. It was between fighting for a chance to survive or just accepting certain defeat. Right, so if you're going to make a huge, risky move, you obviously can't do it by yourself. Caesar's second question was all about his people, his team. He had to know, after all those years of fighting together in Gaul, would his legendary 13th Legion actually follow him into a civil war against their own country? He went and spoke to them straight up, and their answer was unanimous. Where you go, we go. And this moment, it's so critical. It proves that his greatest weapon wasn't his strategic mind or his swords. It was the unshakable trust he'd built with his soldiers. That was his real capital. Okay, so his own house is in order. Now he turns his focus outward. And question number 3 is pure strategy. What's my enemy going to do? He didn't just think about his own move. He was playing chess, thinking about how Pompey and the Senate would react. What were their strengths, and maybe more importantly, what were their weaknesses? His assessment was that his opponents were pretty weak, disorganized, and frankly, a little complacent. They fully expected him to hesitate, to try and negotiate, to blink first. And right there, in their expectation, he found his entire strategy. He would do the exact opposite. He would strike, and he would do it with overwhelming speed, courage, and the one thing they'd never see coming: total surprise. And finally, we get to the 4th question. This is the one that really separates the leaders from the managers. It's about legacy. Caesar knew this decision would echo through time. He had to ask himself, how am I going to be judged for this? Will I be the savior of Rome or the man who tore it all down? And what he realized was actually pretty profound. He knew he might be condemned by history, but he decided that the absolute worst legacy for a leader is to be passive when crisis hits, to just stand by, watch things decline,
and do nothing. For him, the risk of being a failed revolutionary was way better than the certainty of being a forgotten coward.
So, the die was cast. He crossed the river. But what happened next? See, the outcome of a Rubicon decision is never, ever simple. It's not just about winning or losing. It's about the incredible price you pay for the path you choose.
I mean, this timeline just shows the shocking speed of it all. He crosses the Rubicon, and after 5 years of just a brutal civil war that tore apart the entire known world, he was the sole ruler of Rome. But that victory came at the ultimate cost. In winning that supreme power, the Roman Republic itself, well, it died.
And this brings us to a really deep, kinda sad truth. Sometimes winning is heavier than losing. Yeah, Caesar won, but the cost was just immense. The blood of his fellow Romans, the loss of his friends, the end of a 500-year-old political system. His victory was also a profound tragedy. So what can we, as modern leaders, actually take away from all this? How do we apply the lessons from that frozen riverbank to our boardrooms, to our projects, and to our teams today? Let's try and distill this whole story into some real actionable advice. Okay, here are the 5 big takeaways. 1. Know what your red line is before you get to it. 2. Always calculate the cost of doing nothing. It's often way higher than you think. 3. Never forget, the trust of your team is your most valuable asset, period. 4. Once that decision is made, go. Act with speed and total commitment. And 5. Before you cross that river, you have to ask yourself, what is this victory going to cost me? And am I really willing to pay that price?
And that brings us right back to you. We've picked apart Caesar's choice, but the real power of this story, of course, is how we can apply it to our own lives and our own careers. It's time to turn these big historical lessons into some very personal questions.
So I'm going to leave you with 3 questions to think about. First, what is the point of no return decision that you are facing right now? Name it. Second, flip the script on risk. Don't just ask what you might lose by acting. Ask yourself what you will definitely lose by not acting. And third, and be honest with yourself on this one. Is your team truly with you? Is that trust really there to make this leap together?
You know, every great leader eventually stands at the edge of their own Rubicon. Some turn back, and, well, history forgets them. Others choose to act, and they change the world. Caesar's die was cast more than 2,000 years ago. Now, what is yours?